Alright, I normally don't do this, but there was a mid-patch update, and it's a pretty big change. So that's why we're going to go over this, because there's like a ton of stuff that is actually different right now. Normally the B patches, they only fix one or two things, but this one they fix like a lot of stuff. It's essentially like as big as some of the normal patches. So let's just get right into it. So starting at the top, we have some augment changes. Built different attack speed is being increased by 10% at every level, so I actually have not seen built different do that well. I think when people become better at the game, built different becomes worse. And since we've been playing set 6 for like a long time, and the new set came out, like, it needs a little bit of something in order to be that type of like OP that it was in the start of the last set. Hex Nova Mana Reave range is being changed from 1 to 2 hexes. Yeah, this one always felt a little lackluster. So I'm glad that they are buffing it. 2 hexes is a lot though, so we'll have to see how that does. Irresistible charm damage reduction, 20% to 15%. This is one of the most like broken OP ones that I've seen. I know a lot of people, they just auto take this one, and it is, yeah, it was really good. Whether 20% to 15 is enough, I think it actually is to make it reasonable. So I think this is actually a pretty good change. One for all attack damage and ability power per stack is being decreased from 20 to 15. This one had disgustingly high win rates according to the, or like average placements according to the data. So I'm sure on Riot's end, they probably have even better data. And yeah, nerfing it by 25%, this might not be enough. So we'll have to see there. Sharpshooter twin shot bounce damage reduction is being changed from 50% to 60%. So even though the number goes higher, this is actually a nerf because it is a damage reduction on the bounce. And yeah, twin shots, they became really popular. I won't lie, guys. I'm pretty sure no one thought twin shots would actually be that much better based on the buffs they got in this last patch. There are a lot of memes about buffing twin shots, how it was like not really doing anything. I thought in my patch preview that it wouldn't really affect that much, but like I played around with it. For those of you who are subscribed, you probably saw the game that I posted on it like a couple days ago. But yeah, they're actually pretty good, and this is their best augment, so nerfing that makes complete sense. Sniper's Nest stacking damage amp is being reduced by 2%. Ooh, this one is pretty good. The reason is because Ashe is so strong right now. So this one and this one both directly affect Ashe because she is a Syndicate sharpshooter. But I do hope it doesn't affect Jhin too much, because I'll be honest, guys, you've probably been hearing me say this a lot. Like, I don't think Jin's been doing like that well. He's being played, I think, more as like a secondary carry than like a primary carry, because whenever I look at like the top level players, they're not playing Jhin that often, and when he is being played, he's kind of just like a trait bot, you know, or just like a worst case scenario. Like you'd rather have Aurelia, for example. So if you're the type of player who doesn't like to follow high level players and like to follow data instead, you could like control F for Jhin, and a lot of sites don't even have him pop up as like a person in one of the most popular comps. So that's like the weird thing about Jhin right now. Three's Company is the next one. It can now only appear on round 1-4. Okay, that one sounds pretty fair. Yeah, because unless you're actually re-rolling 3 costs and like you're just hoping to get the exact ones that you want, it did feel pretty bad in the other parts of the game. So small Yordle dodge chance being reduced. I've been auto-taking this because Corki is so strong right now, so if you're going Yordles and Corki, like it just makes sense to take this. I feel like if you just nerf Corki, this wouldn't be as much of an issue though, so I would have approached this differently. But let's read the rest of the patch to find out what other changes they made before we go to full-on judgments. So True Justice Enforcer, health threshold to active true damage, 50% to 80%. I believe this one is the one that says your enforcers deal true damage to units that are like below 50% health, and now it's being changed to 80%. And I don't know, all the enforcer units, like, apart from Vi, do they really do that much damage? I've never heard of an enforcer comp that would really make use of this. I think that's the issue with this right now. It might be a case of people just being afraid to go for an enforcer comp rather than it actually being bad. But I've just never seen enforcers actually like doing a lot of work, you know? The only issue is that 2 enforcer is so easy to splash, so it's hard to just say, oh, buff the enforcer. I think the only way to actually buff the enforcer comps is to buff the 4 enforcer trait. But I don't know how you would do that in an elegant way. So onto the traits. Okay, so Clockwork base damage attack speed is being nerfed a little bit at 4 Clockwork. Random fact, and I'm going to make a video on this later. Did you guys know that Clockwork Spatula is like one of the highest win rate spatulas? It made no sense to me, but it is a fun fact to kind of know. But like data doesn't mean everything. I'll be making a video on this like hopefully in the next week. I have like a lot on my pipeline right now, so we'll have to see when I actually get to it. But like, yeah, you can't always trust data. But like, yeah, fun fact of the day: Clockwork Spatula was like one of the best items like right now. But they are nerfing for Clockwork. I'm not really sure why. I've never seen it that much, but I'm sure they have their reasons. Debonair health is being reduced at 5 Debonair and reduced at 7 Debonair. I've actually liked a lot of the Debonair comps. This is probably aimed at nerfing Talon a little bit because Talon, Debonairs, and both in the Debonair and Assassin version, he has been very, very strong. Draven's also been pretty solid from what I've been seeing. So yeah, Debonair nerf does make sense. Ability power is being changed as well. It's being nerfed at 5 and 7 Debonair. Now onto the Innovators. Yeah, Innovators definitely, I'm glad they touched this. The Bear actually got a pretty sizable armor and magic resist nerf, and then a slight one for the Dragon. Okay, so the Bear one's the most important one, because this is the most common one. You see a lot of 5 Innovator. You do see a few 7 Innovators, but it's hard to get because you really need the Innovator soul augment to kind of get there. But I am glad that they are touching it because I feel like it was the best comp as seen on my tier list. Striker attack damage is being changed. It is being buffed at 4 and 6 Striker. That makes sense because, again, in my meta snapshot, I said like there's no reason to actually go for a Striker comp because any comp you do revolving around Aurelia, the Socialite builds better, and then any comp revolving around Sivir, once Hextech gets to like a regular level, you'll probably go the Hextech version. So it makes sense to buff Strikers to have like more options when you go for those 2 units. Syndicate armor and magic resist is being nerfed a bit. Again, Ashe reroll was really strong. And then Syndicate 7 bonus is being changed from 60% to 50%. Now onto the champions. So pretty much it seems that they're just nerfing everything. So when like 70% of the stuff gets nerfed, the other 30% gets like obviously slightly stronger, but hopefully it kind of equals out. We'll have to see what comps get really strong because a lot of times a comp is only powerful in the meta because it counters everything else, not because it's actually strong. So let's just get through this and then see where everything kind of sits. So Brand VIP Seer reduced damage for second fireball is being changed from 30% to 45%. So in case you guys didn't know, the second shot that Brand does in the VIP thing, it does less damage, and now they're just making it deal even less damage. So this is a nerf to reroll Brand. Twitch piercing bolt attack damage scaling is being changed from scaling to just a flat 125%. So this is obviously a nerf because, well, it's at the it's staying put at the lowest level. I feel like Twitch reroll already got touched a little bit before, but I guess since you're nerfing everything else, you need to nerf Twitch as well, so he doesn't become the strongest comp again. So I guess this does make sense on paper. Ashe attack damage, of course, like as I said, all the Syndicate changes were aimed at Ashe. I feel like nerfing Syndicate in this many ways, though, might be a little too much because they nerf some of the sniper stuff as well. I don't know if Ashe is going to be that great moving forward. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Corki bombardment damage is being changed from nerfed at 1 star by 20, 2 star by 15, and 3 star by whatever this number is. Yeah, it makes sense. Corki was very strong. Did they need to do the so small nerf and this? Maybe. I guess they nerfed a lot of the other stuff by a lot too, so nerfing this by like 2 ways does make sense if they're nerfing like Syndicates in like 4 or 5 different ways. Of course, the scale matters as well of the nerfs, but I feel like it's actually fair considering everything else. Rek'Sai Furious Bite, dude, they keep changing Rek'Sai because, I don't know, it's hard to find an identity for Rek'Sai because Rek'Sai's ability is just like a enhanced auto, right? It just does bonus damage. So they're trying to make the heal more like an integral part of the thingy. So 150 to 200, 200 to 225, and 350 to 400. So it does heal a lot more, and then the bonus heal is also being increased. So they want Rek'Sai to be kind of like a reset champion or like just like a perma healer maybe. Kind of like Hecarim, Cavalier Hecarim in like a couple sets ago. I forget which set it was. But it's hard to kind of do because a lot of times Rek'Sai gets CC'd, then you can't bite, then you die before you heal. Everyone's running healing reduction right now. So most healing champs, unless they're healing like a ton, like Seraphine. Seraphine does like a big AoE heal. It's hard to actually find their spot right now. So buffing it is, I would say, is pretty fair. Syndra's Force of Will damage is being nerfed a bit at 2 and 3 star. Yeah, Syndra reroll, especially the VIP one, it sneaks out a lot of wins. Like, you don't go it every game, obviously, but when you do it, I've seen it do really, really well. Talon Blade's end damage is being changed a bit. Nerfed at 2 star, nerfed at 3 star. I feel like they need to do a little more to Talon. I guess they did the other Debonair nerfs as well, so maybe that's enough. But I feel like you need to nerf Talon much more than you nerfed Syndra. Because I feel like Talon is the one that people go for more often, and I feel like he's stronger as well. But we'll kind of have to see. Because I think percentage-wise, like, the nerfs are very similar between the two. We'll have to see, but like I feel like Talon should have gotten like a slightly bigger nerf, or maybe nerf the assassin trait slightly, because I think assassins are a little too strong with both Twitch and Talon being like very key players right now. Zyra grasping spines damage is being nerfed across the board. So Zyra was destroying people in like a recent tournament. I feel like she's really good because she's just like a really strong CC unit. Like, she could do like 0 damage and probably would still be played. I'm exaggerating a little bit. The fact that against some comps she CCs like 5 or 6 units is absolutely bonkers to me. It's just so OP, but like, yeah, she probably needs some sort of nerf. I don't know how. They're saying damage is the best way to do it, which I think doesn't really make sense. I feel like they should nerf the CC section, because if you nerf her damage too much, there gives no incentive to like itemize her. But if you nerf her CC, maybe you could like still do a carry Zyra build. I'm not sure what they want Zyra's identity to kind of be. Gnar's ability damage is being changed in terms of the scaling, 185% to 175. I don't think this really changes anything about Gnar. But apparently some people thought he was OP, some people thought he was like in a good spot. I've seen him most used as like an item holder, so it still does make sense to nerf someone because they are an item holder. That's like another thing that data kind of hides. It's like, if someone is super broken as an item holder, they don't show up in the end game stats or in the end game data as being like super OP. So this might be one of those cases, whereas Riot does have that data. Lucian Relentless Pursuit damage is being changed a bit. Nerfed across the board. So yeah, again, the twin shots proved to be too strong after the other buffs. Maybe they're ghost buffs, like maybe they just buffed them and then everyone started playing them, whereas like people forgot about them before. A lot of times that happens in TFT, but they're definitely putting them back in check. Morgana max nerf. Yeah, Morgana super broken. One of my favorite units so far in this set. Senna attack speed is being nerfed a bit. If you're nerfing both Morgana and Senna, like, you always play them together most of the time, so that is pretty sizable. Vex max mana nerf is being changed from 4 out of 80 to 50 out of 90. Again, more Yordle nerfs. Did Yordles really do that much damage to people? Like, who hurt? Like, which Yordle hurt you, you know? Ahri damage per additional orb on the same target is being changed from 80% to 60%. I think this is a case of nerfing Ahri just because everything else got nerfed, because this is like, I would assume to be a very small nerf. Draven attack damage, yeah, Draven was pretty solid. Not OP, but like, again, since you're nerfing everything else, you want to nerf other stuff like slightly. Same with Aurelia. Sivir Ricochet bonus damage being buffed. Finally, some Sivir nerfs. Maybe my 5-hour video on only Hextech will finally be relevant again, because like, damn, after I finish it, they just nerfed the entire comp in like 10 different ways with like 10 medium nerfs, not like 10 small nerfs, you know? Calio health being increased a bit. Okay. Yeah, I've not seen Galio at all this set, actually. I don't know why. I think it's because like Colossus might be hard to fit in. Socialites have a lot of different options to be used right now instead of the Galio. I think they need to buff Galio by more than this in order to see him at like a decent rate. Because this, let's be honest, guys, like 1200 to 1300 health when he has so much health from the Colossus trait as well, doesn't really change that much about him. But come to think about it, I have probably not seen any Galios in any of my games recently. Like, maybe I saw him once and I forgot about it because maybe they went 8th or something like that. But man, I feel like he needs a little more than just this 100 HP buff to actually be played at like a decent rate again. Kaisa Icathian Monsoon damage per missile is being buffed across the board. Okay, so one interesting thing, because I heard this from Twitter, a lot of the stuff they're nerfing on this patch is the pace of combat. So yeah, they talk about this here. The pace of combat has interfered with the clarity of each battle. This pace has been accelerated with high damage from champions and blah, 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 blah. Damage is too high. So in my previous patch notes, or like maybe in a meta snapshot, I forget which, I kept saying Kaisa was super strong in the last set because fights lasted a long time. It allowed her to put Morello Namakan on everyone, stack up her ultimate because her ultimate does more damage as the game goes on. Stuff like Ascension was really broken last set, and this set we have not seen it at all. I'm afraid since they're nerfing everything else and then buffing her, we might be in a Kaisa meta again. Granted, these buffs are not that much, but you have to keep in mind, she shoots a lot of missiles, so even if it's just like a 5 damage buff, like I don't know how many missiles she actually shoots, but it is a lot per round, assuming that like fights actually last a decent amount. So I don't know if you needed to do both. I would have just left Kaisa the same, but I guess we will see. So bug fix, mana grievance. Oh, and I only say this because like we've been playing Kaisa like the entirety of set 6. I don't want to see Kaisa the entirety of set 6.5. I want to see a little bit of her, but not like too much, you know? But yeah, onto the bug fixes. Mana grievance. Cutthroat now increases the target's mana by the intended 50% instead of 65%. This was already such a broken augment, so it's funny how there was a bug on it that I think they nerfed it from 65 to 60 and then it just didn't do anything. So that is funny. But I'm glad they fixed it. Fix an issue preventing Knife's Edge, Battle Mage, Featherweights, and Triforce from being offered on 3.3 and 4.6. I didn't know that that was a thing, but good to know. My type of math, calculated loss no longer grants 2 gold on wins. Okay, these are pretty big bug fixes. I had no idea these existed. If you guys had like plus 2 gold on... I did notice actually that calculated loss had like really high win rates, but I feel like that's because it's more of a reroll meta rather than like the bug existing. But that is pretty funny. But yeah, overall, I feel like a lot of these changes I do agree with, but in combination... Like, sorry, let me rephrase that. I feel like in isolation, the changes make a lot of sense. In aggregate, we'll have to see. It's hard to do a prediction for this because there's so many different changes, but essentially everything got nerfed. 10% of things got buffed. I think only like Sivir and Kaisa got buffed. Maybe I'm missing someone else. I don't really count Galio as being buffed because he's like, it's not enough. But because everything gets buffed, it should hopefully mean that everything that's good right now still should be good. They just won't be like OP. So my recommendation is if you get a good game for something, still go for it even if it got nerfed. Because that I feel like is the ultimate point of balancing the game, is to kind of make every path viable as long as you get the right pieces for it. They really hate it when people like force stuff all the time because it just means that something is inherently like wrong with the game. But there's a lot of different interpretation to that, because is forcing something in gold the same thing as forcing something in like challenger? Those are two different things to consider, you know? But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I will be coming out with an update on the meta snapshot on Friday, so do look out for that if you want to play the comps that are identified as like the best for whatever that week is. But yeah, this is going to be the game for the next 3 weeks now. Because this was supposed to be a month-long patch, but then they B-patched it. But I don't think they are allowed to do any more changes to it, so we'll have to see. Unless something is like super, super, super nonsense, they will do a hot fix. But in terms of like patching, they can't really do too much. So hopefully we'll enjoy this, and I will see you guys, I guess, on Friday.